This is one of those films where, and I'm not just saying this, like,
Okay, thank
it,
you.
it's tough because like I've seen it a few times, and there's a few moments where just as a parent, like it just really touched me, and I can only imagine what it's like for you going through the motions and being up close seeing everybody else. And I feel like you've been a part of so many truly inspiring and great films and projects. And what would you say is the most surprising change that you've noticed within you in response to an experience on a film or a feeling felt or a line of dialogue?
I remember there's a line in this film when they go into the Crown's bar, and then Chairman Fred goes, first you have free education, then you have free healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
then you have free breakfast. Next thing you know, you look up, you done freed yourself, you freed your motherfuckers. And then like, but I felt that hit me. It
Yeah.
did that because it was like they weren't they were giving people the tools in order to free themselves. I mean, they understood the importance of them liberating themselves as opposed to liberating them. It made me understand that their goal was also an internal revolution,
Mm-hmm.
from the insides. If you think better about yourself, if you feel better about yourself, then your surroundings will change because of that. There's a saying goes, as within, so without. So I think that's what the Black Panther Party represented to me.
I learned how to trust differently. I learned unconditional love because I felt that my cast and crew didn't want anything from me but to make space and hold space for me to be. Daniel played a big part in that because he sees people for who they are. I think that's his superpower, and he knows how to remove himself, his ego, and meet people where they are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's is a major gift. And I learned so much from him. I learned so much from my cast that when I came back home, I was looking for self determination, which is what the Panthers always talked about, And I was looking. I called 2020 my freedom or my freedom year, and I was looking for freedom. And ironically enough, we became quarantined and couldn't go out and be free in the sense that we knew it. But I learned that freedom was in the mind, and that when you get freedom of mind, you get love of self, and you get love unconditional. And that's what I learned on a macro level in terms of the movie, but on a micro level, taking that with me, I got to understand that the character of Deborah, she changed me as a woman, and I knew the direction. It helped me cross the threshold and knew the direction I wanted to go in.
Perhaps the aspect of manifestation and imagination and what the fruits of those things can be, and the reality of the fact that continuing to stay steadfast and realizing your ambitions can yield great things, and the exploration of my own humanity as a
Mm-hmm.
result of having to be a mirror to a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
That's perhaps the most fruitful things. Learning oneself is to have to be adjacent to these characters that are not of your imagination.
Yeah, I mean, it it shook me up in quite a few ways, but I think the biggest being, playing a character like Roy that, the way we portrayed him in the film, he's someone that above all strives to do the right thing. That's sort of under the umbrella of 1969.
Sure.
But at his core, I truly believe that this guy wanted to do the right thing. And over time, by not wanting to ruffle feathers or, risk his job, which is, his family's well-being, he just swallowed his conscience and carried on. And that's something that I feel like everyone has to keep an eye out for, because it's really the easy thing to do is nothing, you know,
Sure.
to carry on. And it's a much harder route to speak up and say something that you believe is right. But am I doing enough? You know, am I doing enough to be a good compatriot? And that was a takeaway for me. Was it's like there's this misconception that before this year that you know, we're sort of arrogant in who we are, and definitely as a country, but and thinking that we're evolved, and you know, it's 2021, but
Yeah.
there's just, we have such a long way to go. And I guess it yeah, lit a fire in me and reminded me that it's never over, and it's not enough to just be a good guy. You know, you have to do you know, the action is needed, not
Right.
just words, you know.
Yeah, just like the line in the film that about Che Guevara saying that words are beautiful, but actions
Yeah.
are supreme. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I feel that there's an art to delivery, and it shows so well through your performance that there's got to be a specific way that you deliver a line. Like the words have so much tremendous weight, but you're the how you deliver it is the period at the end of the sentence. Was there an art that you discovered to try to deliver a line that in such an impactful way as it does in this film?
I've got something, a lesson I learned. I was 19. I was on a set and I was in a comedy. I was doing a comedy show, and I was doing, it was like a funny scene, and I was doing his rehearsing, and then I did the scene and something was off. Then the director pulled me aside, Matt Lipsey, never forget this. He was like, Daniel, never play the funny, always play the truth.
Yeah.
And it was something that really informs how I deliver lines every way. And the line's telling me how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just say it. You know what I'm saying? If it's written and it's deep, like right now, I'm not thinking of how to deliver what I'm saying. It's an expression of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going from that. I'm speaking honestly, and boom, it's coming out. And it's like my favorite actors are always child actors, you know, because they're not thinking. They're just boom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's my that. I don't know, this is how I feel. Boom. I don't know. Who cares? Boom. And so that's kind of like always been like so. And it allows the audience to receive the words,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I'm not putting any of me on it. I mean, or any of my perspective, or any of my intellect on it. I'm kind of just speaking from my body. Boom, have that. Do you know what I'm saying? I understand it, I feel it, and then I want you to feel it too. But I'm just gonna say it if I feel it.
I know Bill isn't here with us, but because there's so many impactful moments in this film, is there a specific moment in the film that you wish that he was here to see, just to see how he responds to it?
Yeah, I mean, I wish he would have made different decisions. I wish he would have, you know, saw the beauty in what the Black Panthers were about, and perhaps made different decisions that didn't lead to such tragedy. And I wish he would have made better decisions for himself as well, so he didn't have to end in such a tragic way.
Yeah.
And I know that I can gather from what I learned about him that he was a miserable individual for a lot of his life. And that sucks because it could have went a different direction. He was smart enough that he could have had a better life than that. So, but I hope people can learn from his story, and people that might have a similar or position in the way that they view the world, i.e., being apolitical or you know, just all for their own self, not for people. Hopefully, they can see how over time how this can be an issue, and if everyone was like this, there might not be any of us left already.
Man, for me, I wish he was here to help. I don't wish he was here to see a film. It's the reality. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like he was such a brilliant man and such a brilliant heart, and I think he was an incredible organizer, and that is what, and he was on the front line. You know, there's an element that we're doing this film in order to help people on the front line, you know, day in, day out, and I wish he was here to do that, you know, and to guide the generation of now to build them and to keep on the work.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer, and I think he would very much approve of that. You know, you said quite a few things in there where I could go in many different directions, but I think what stood out to me is about your performance in particular is how well you sell this internal conflict. I can feel that. And I think it's great that this movie is in a way providing both sides. How did that inclusion affect you? Like, was it valuable that the film offered more than just one side?
Well, I think it was valuable to the story as a whole. Because it was an integral part of the story, and this dynamic between Mitchell and O'Neill is really interesting. I don't know if Mitchell would say that they were friends, but they worked really well together. I mean, they had a history long after this. I appreciate the fact that they put a lot of thought into Mitchell as well, so it wasn't just like something you've seen before, or something that's just like blatant and, you know, the obvious route with the, you know, crooked FBI guy.
The three moments that made me tear up involve parenting or just fear of parenting, which all those scenes or your character are involved in. How important was it to you that the script had these moments where they felt so true to the human experience, like these little quiet moments between you and Daniel, where you talk about foot capitalism and things like that?
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. So Shaka said that he wrote the role for me, and he wrote the role specifically for everybody that's in it. And so it's just like a shout out to him, because he was seeing us before he even knew us. And so I just have to say, like, everything is aligned. And so spiritually, I feel like each of us bring whatever we need to bring in the moments. And so from the beginning, the love was my main MO. Listen, Shaka, I want to make sure that we know by the end of the film, she loved her she loves him, that the sacrificial gesture she does in the end is believable. So I'm just trying to get there in love. I'm trying to celebrate those moments. When do you fall in love? Like, you know, and then the fact that they were 19 and 21 years old. You know, we see them on big stages being these powerful people, but in the quiet moments, that's when we're gonna, you know, be able to see that they're just kids. You know, they're just kids. And, you know, what does it feel like when you want to kiss somebody, but you don't know how to say it, you know? And, you know, they're making you laugh so hard, but you don't want to bust out laughing. So you're like giggling, like, you know, and I'm happy that you felt that way. And in terms of bringing those moments, I got to instinctively bring the character to life, because a lot of it was journaling and putting music to every scene. A lot of Nina Simone songs, Do What You Gotta Do. She says, although I may never kiss those sweet lips again, pay that no mind. Go out and find that dapple dream of yours and come back and see me when you can. You know, and so that is a theme song. A lot of Langston Hughes poetry, and I journaled for every moment. I wrote poems about his dimples. I wrote poems for the first time that they kissed. And although we don't get to see that stuff in the movie, creating the world around it so that when I speak to him, or that when I look at him, you know that there's a whole entire world dedicated to him inside of me.
Yeah, it was so important for me. That was so important, and I'm so happy Shaka thought in that way. But there's an element that you have to be very careful, because the family's involved. You don't want to suggest things that what right do you have to go? Yeah, we want this, mom, we want this. This is someone's real life. This is Mama Kua. This is her. You know, so it was amazing that we was able to find moments of quiet and intimacy, and them to resonate with the family, and the family approve of it. And because it's a very fine line in that sense, because we're basically saying that our interpretation of a relationship she existed in, you know, and she currently still existing. So it's that thing where like, so yeah, it was, I'm so happy we had those moments of levity, and because he had an incredible way with words. And if you read his speeches, some moments are hilarious, like genuinely hilarious, how he phrases it, you know, but he's using humor in order to get a reaction, so you to wake up to hear what he's saying when he comes with the deeper line, you know. And so it would have been misaligned to not have that in the quiet moments, you know, moments of levity. I feel in the intimate.
A lot of the projects that you're part of, there's like great language and all of it. I'm curious to know how much poetry is a part of your life and how your relationship has changed since you've been a part of this film.
Yeah, a great deal. I mean, I write poetry. I love poetry. And it was just nice to see, you know, some of those little nuggets like the one you just mentioned. Makes you think about literature of the time, and, you know, how we could educate ourselves better. And yeah, I mean, I love Dominique Fishback's portrayal of Deborah Johnson in her poetry, how she wrote that. And, you know, there were times on set when we would go to like spoken word competitions and Dominique always won. So yeah, it's fun, and it's a great experience.
I'm getting into it. I bought this book the other day called Milk and Honey. It's an incredible poetry book that someone told me to get, and you could just scroll on a page and then read something. I'm like, oh wow, that really hits me. But it's something I'm really growing into.
Oh yeah. I have a little break. My birthday is March 22nd, so on Instagram I'll be dropping something musical. But I feel like the poetry of speaking and being valued in that way by Shaka and the team said, oh, I have something to say and it's important. Doesn't matter what room I'm in, you know, take up space authentically as I am.
Yeah, I love poetry. I went down a pretty deep rabbit hole of a lot of the music from the movement. Zach Cowie, who contributed some of the music for this film, is a friend of mine, and he's just an encyclopedia of music of all genres. And yeah, he played me some sort of more obscure stuff that was just really mind-blowing. And finding some of that and listening to it at the time, it was so, there's so much power and so raw. And I can imagine someone like Roy seeing this like pure angry expression being scary. It's something that's like that you don't that's hard to wrap your head around. Like The Last Poets, some of that stuff, it's totally, in conflict of like everything he stands for. But then you go beneath it, and then there's the poetry that came out of this time and this movement is something that I was really, really fortunate to get a little peek into. Yeah.
Was there a specific launch point for you to find this character, whether it was a line or an image or something that you've read about him that just felt like this is what's allowing me most in?
No, I wouldn't say it was like I just kind of started doing what he did. Whenever I found something, oh, he did that, okay, I'm gonna do that. Whether it's like listening to Martin Luther King speeches in the morning, whether listening to Malcolm X speeches in the morning, whether it's smoking, taking up cigarettes, do you know what I'm saying? Whether it's doing what he did, and just allowed me to kind of like really meditate with and grow the him in me. Do you know what I'm saying? And kind of can build in that. It's kind of like little things about I'll find something, go, yeah, I'll do that. Oh yeah, little things like, yeah, I'll do that. And just creating an environment for myself in order to be a vessel.
Obviously, so much has happened in this past year, to say the very least. And I feel like I saw this film differently than I probably would have a couple of years ago. Do you feel the same? about it through your journey of being a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely would have felt differently because it was in a different headspace. I'm not sure the ways in which, obviously, like all the way, but yeah, I imagine I would have felt differently. But I do feel like it's timely, so that's good. Unfortunately, it's timely, but I guess it's good for the audiences to try and find the parallels between themes in the movie and things we're experiencing.
No, but no, I don't. I don't feel anything that happened over the past year surprised me. It was something that it was like, oh, it's happened now. Okay, cool. There's a whole. I think it's just more of it. You know, it's just like
Sure.
more like public consciousness is more aware that they're murdering unarmed black people. You know, it's like I've known, and I believed it. The racism that's been out there, I believed it. You know what I mean, I don't need convincing.
The single best part of the movie to me, and I don't want to spoil it for even though it's history, but it's a moment with you at the very end when something's happening in the background and we just see your eyes. And we don't even have to see a tear, we don't have to see anything, it's just stillness. And I get so much out of it. Throughout all the film, these little quiet moments with you where you say so much through your eyes. And I wonder if there's an art to it that you discovered through your experience of like how much you can say through your eyes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First I have to say Mama Akua, who's formerly known as Deborah Johnson, she did not cry in that moment in history. You know, they were chanting and shouting, they were laughing and smiling about what they had done. And she did not blink. She did not shed a tear. And so that was really important for her, for us to get right, you know. So I have to just celebrate and thank her for that note, for that little bit of a gem inside of strength and inside of the strength that she has and that she held at that age, in that position. She was pregnant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would say, you know, I started in theater, and I remember when I first tried to transition into TV and film, I would get I got a note in 2011, was my first TV audition. They said, you know, all your choices are really strong, they're just really theatrical. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that means, because I'm theatrical in real life, so they can't tell me that's not real life. And then I read a book called Acting in Film and TV by Michael Caine, and he talked about how, I'm paraphrasing, but the idea is that the intensity of film is just as big as theater, but you can't show it as much. So it's almost like shaking a soda bottle and not popping it open, but opening the top. And that kind of imagery, I was like, oh, I get it now. You know, it's not about less intensity. It's just about that we don't show, it has to come through the eyes. You have to be bubbling up so much inside that is coming through through the eyes. And so, or even in the Michael Caine book, he talks about whatever you put your eyes on, you give weight to. Mm-hmm. And so how me thinking about my mission as an actor in this role, as a support for Daniel, as a support for the story, as a support for the history and the legacy of Chairman Fred, the Black Messiah, how do I, even in the little moments, how do I celebrate him, is what we give our eyes to. And because I was able to journal and put music to and build that world that we don't get to see, now when I look at him, that world is already inside. So I don't have to try to make something I can just be, you know. And then when you open yourself up to people like Daniel, and when he speaks, he revolutionizes people and he galvanizes, just like the scene when we're in the church and I'm high off the people. Like I just watched him and everything happened, you know.
This is a part that I can only imagine throughout your career that seems like it would be the most difficult to let go of. When you're done with a film, are you still wrapped up in the thoughts that the character has, how they were thinking? Because even after this movie's over, I'm still desiring to know more about him and his family and what they're doing today and how they're responding to today. I'm just curious, like, what the journey is after a film is over.
I think that was something I kind of was made aware of, in the sense that I wasn't really sure what was me and what was him, like a couple months after.
Yeah.
I had to really do some deep work do some deep spiritual work to kind of get myself back in the game. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you go into a thing where it becomes enmeshed, and you're not sure and you haven't prioritized yourself. You know what I'm saying? After the shoot. And it's something that I kind of was like, oh wow, like I need to make sure I do it on every job. It's probably I've carried the last 4 or 5 jobs with me and just kept it moving. You know what I mean? And this was like a tipping point. We're like, well, you can't do that anymore. You have to really shake that off you. You know what I'm saying? And really say goodbye essentially to it and let go.
America's on fire right now. And until that fire is extinguished, nothing else means a damn thing. Imagine what we could accomplish together. We can heal this whole city.
You ain't tell me it was gonna be like this. These ain't no terrorists.
We got a rat, man.
Does anybody else know about me?
No one knows your identity.
Are you sure?
We educate, we nurture, we feed, and we lobby. Perhaps we're here for more than just war with these bodies. We scream, and we shout, and we live by this anthem. But it's power to the people really worth their ransom.
When I dedicated my life to people, I dedicated my life.
You get to go out there and talk about dying a revolutionary death because you don't have another person growing inside your body.
Anywhere there's people, there's power.